Hello, and welcome to another episode of Wheel of Horror, the podcast where I spin a wheel once a week. It chooses the horror film and we discuss it. Today, we're talking 1985 Silver Bullet, which was directed by Dan Atticus, or Addis. I'm your host, Alec, and joining me today for the first time ever is Clint Switzer. So, welcome to the show, Clint. How you doing?
I'm doing great, Alec. It's great to be here with you. I was talking to you beforehand. I just binged about 100 episodes from you guys on a couple road trips I've been on. So it's a little surreal right now. I'm kind of feel like I'm meeting a celebrity just doing this with you, and it's a great way for me to get to be talking some horror because it is my true passion. So this is awesome, and thank you so much for allowing me to do it with you and letting me pick the movie of all things. My gosh.
Oh my God, of course. No, well, Clint, I appreciate you saying all that stuff. It's very nice of you. And yeah, no, you emailed me and I was like, dude, let's go. Like, get in here. You were telling me that you work in radio, or not radio, but you cover classic rock and sports. But is it for radio or
Yeah,
what
it's
is?
like I built my own kind of sports media outlet called Starcade Media about 12 years ago. And so just covering a lot of sports, I live in the Midwest here in Kansas City. So a lot of Chiefs, college football, NFL. And then on the other side too, I do a rock podcast called On the Road to Rock, where I interview a lot of rock musicians, especially from like the 70s and 80s, like classic rock, our kind of rock,
Yeah, yeah.
these newfangled bands I don't know much about, about young blood, but I could sure do Rat any time of the week. So
Yeah, yeah.
my
No,
genre.
I love all that stuff, seriously. Like I was telling you before, yeah, I'm like classic rock is my genre of music. So listen to it every day. It's yeah, same as you. Like anytime I see a poster where it's like, oh, there's this like festival and like all the headlining bands, I'm like, I literally don't recognize any of them. It's getting bad. But 80s music, I could talk all day.
Love it.
Yeah, and this movie is like it was a hidden gem, like I love Stephen King movies. I've covered I don't even know 100 probably at this point. And I had never seen this one. I'd heard of it. I knew it was a werewolf movie, but I'd never seen it and you recommended it. And I was like, "Let's go." I've been waiting to cover it, so I'm glad somebody is a fan, I'm assuming. I'm assuming you've watched this, when before.
Oh yeah, big fan since I was a kid for sure. This one it's always kind of a standalone movie. There's no sequels, there's no remakes. It just exists, and it was one of Stephen King's shortest. I think it's his shortest book he ever wrote at 127 pages, and it's sort of a graphic novel, basically, because the book is illustrated and it's really striking imagery. If you've ever had a chance to read that, it's called Cycle of the Werewolf, and it's really a good. It's a lot of differences that we can discuss as well. But yeah, this movie. I mean, when you got Gary Busey, you got Corey Haim in this, and I think that it just has this tone about it. I love horror movies that are set in small towns. I'm a settings guy, Alec, when it comes to movies like this. And I always love the setting of this movie, and it kind of like immerses you in to this small town and like kind of sucks you into it. And yeah, always been a fan. My best friend growing up, his aunt owned the video store in town. So
Uh,
we rented whatever we wanted.
yeah,
It was a
yeah.
free for all. I know you have a guest named Joe on quite a bit.
Oh yeah.
He's like my brother from another mother. We're like the same age.
Yeah.
I have every a lot of the same similar experiences, and just like growing up watching these. My mom tried to stop me. She gave up eventually and just said it's hopeless. So all the
That's
horror for me.
Yeah, so actually, I'm meant to ask you that before we jump too far in. So I do always like to ask guests on their first time, like, what is your favorite genre of horror, or what is your favorite horror film, or what's the one you watch every year? So like, fill me in. What's Clint's favorites?
I'm a seasonal horror watcher. I like to like watch the summer ones in the summertime. I just kind of binged all the Friday the 13th again a couple weeks ago. Huge fan of that series, Friday the 13th. I know you guys have done this movie, but I'm big into like 80s slashers is just really big for me. You guys did an episode on Sleepaway Camp 2, which is like one of my favorite
Yeah.
movies of the genre. But just Evil Dead's right up there, Texas Chainsaw Massacre. These are ones I revisit yearly for sure. So
Yeah, man. Yeah, dude. All those, love them all. Yeah, no, I was just thinking about Evil Dead because I've been watching all the new ones that have came out, like Obsession
yeah,
and Backrooms, and it reminded me of Evil Dead, not the context of the film, but just like the passion of the youth, like coming together and making these movies, and it like propelling their careers. So it just reminds me of Sam Raimi, this Kane Parson and Curry Barker. I just love what they're doing.
that's a good point, and I'm a huge fan of that. And I was a big fan of Obsession too. And I assume you'll have an episode of that coming out soon. I
Yes.
want to hear what your thoughts are on that because I was such a fan of Obsession.
Me too. Yeah, I just that episode will be coming out a week. It came out a week ago. So yeah, so check
Oh,
it
great.
out.
Yeah, I gotta check that out. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So that's awesome. Yes, you're in very, very welcome company with those kind of films. Love those. And this one, again, you're right. I never even thought of that. Like so many Stephen King movies have been either, Children of the Corn has like 11 sequels, or they've remade Salem's Lot 3 times. Like, but this one, you're right. There is no remake. It is a standalone film. And I did a little bit of research into it after I watched it, and I didn't realize because when I'm watching the movie, it says based on like a noveletta by Stephen King. So it wasn't a novella and it wasn't a novel. And it was like a calendar that he like wrote like blurbs to. And then he was like, I think I need more. I need to write more because like I'm feeling more from this. And then he wrote exactly what you're saying, like his shortest kind of work. Um, but yeah, dude, great movie, especially considering the time it came out. Like it just feels so 80s. I mean, the music, just the car, like the driving on the road or whatever with this massive the silver bullet, oh my God, wheelchair that's just like an actual
Yeah.
motorcycle, just like things that wouldn't exist today. I loved it. So thank you so much for recommending it.
Oh, I'm glad. And yeah, it was free on YouTube with ads, which is
Yep.
how I caught it. They have a 4K or a Blu-ray, a Scream Factory Blu-ray that
Yep.
I need to get that. It has some really cool cover art, and I have the VHS as well somewhere back over here. So yeah, it's just a movie that you're right. It's very 80s when you involve Gary Busey and just he's over the top character of Uncle Red in this, which is kind of derived from the character I think it was Uncle Howl in the book. And there was a lot of differences, like like you were talking about in the book. We'll call it the book noveletta. Is that a word? Is that a word? Is that what they called it?
Yeah.
They followed the wolf the cycle for each month. So each time the wolf makes a kill, each chapter is about the wolf killing different people. And in the movie, it really only lasts from spring until Halloween night.
Mm.
Only a few kills kind of happen as the werewolf is making his rounds. But the 80s is such a werewolf driven time period because you had the Howling and all those sequels. You had the Monster Squad, which is one of my favorite movies of all time.
Oh my
Mentioned
God.
that. You guys talk about that a lot.
It's so funny. I literally, right after I finished this movie, my girlfriend and I were watching. I was like, we should watch Monster Squad. And then we put it
Yeah,
on immediately after this. So it's so funny.
good. Because and if you have a girlfriend that's okay with that, then she's got to be cool in my book because that and yeah, so it just kind of fits in with that. There was a lot about if you notice, like I think that there was some discrepancies with how they wanted to portray the werewolf. Like maybe Stephen King wanted to have more of a Jaws approach where you don't see it as much, and they had some back and forth about what it was going to look like. It didn't look great. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, it's funny because I believe the guy who did the effects for the Beast was the guy who did King Kong 1976, which was also produced by Dino De Laurentiis, who produced both of that film and this film. And yes, I had heard the same thing that I believe the director was like, I want it to be kind of like a hit or miss, like like just like Jaws, you won't see him too much, but and then Dino De Laurentiis is like, we want to see him immediately. And there were a few scenes that kind of looked a little bit like a guy in a monkey suit, a little bit.
Yeah.
But I will say I did really appreciate that the actor who I love, why am I blanking on his name now? But the guy, oh, Everett McGill, the guy who plays the
Oh yeah.
priest, he was actually the guy in the suit the whole time. So I really liked that he wasn't like a stunt guy or something like that. Like he's like, I'm gonna fully embody the character in or when I'm the werewolf or if I'm not. So, but yeah, it was a little cheesy. It was a little cheesy, but still, whatever. I was having fun.
No, it's cool. Some of the kills were pretty inventive the way they showed it. And you just see the wolf like mauling somebody. You just see the arm, you see the claws. I think that was pretty effective.
Hmm.
And they do kind of not to jump to the end, but instead of a formation scene where you see like an American werewolf in London, it's sort of a deconstructing of the wolf from wolf to back to man. And is this, I mean, I'm not an expert on werewolf movies, but do you feel like this is one where there's a self-awareness with the person that is the wolf and sort of an internal battle that's going on? I think that's an important element of this. And I don't know if we see that in a lot of other movies where the human side of it, where they are involved in kind of an internal battle about, and you see in the movie, the Reverend says he can't kill himself because suicides go to hell, right?
Right. Yeah.
Aspect.
Yep, yep, you're right. I know. I'm trying to think of another one because he even says throughout the movie, like when he's attacking Corey Haim, he's just like, just know that I would never want to hurt a child. And then there's another line earlier where he's having the dream and he wakes up and he's, God, when are you gonna make this stop or whatever? And I think
Yeah.
that's the moment I knew it was him. But yeah, because American Werewolf in London came out 4 years before this, but it's not like he doesn't really know what's going on. It's kind of just like, holy shit, like I got bit by a creature, now I am a creature, but I don't think he's thinking like werewolf necessarily. This guy knows he's a werewolf. He knows the powers, all that stuff, but it doesn't seem like he wants it. And I kind of like that. Like Stephen King doesn't say like, oh, he was cursed by this, and this is why he's doing it. They leave it kind of vague, and he is still the villain. He does, but even though he has this internal conflict, so I think you're right. I can't think of another werewolf movie where the person like genuine. Well, actually, Monster Squad. He feels bad about it. He's like,
That's
just
he's
lock
trying
me
to
up.
That's right. He's like trying to call and tell people I'm a werewolf. Yeah, and he's trying to warn the kids as parents like he's going to kill your son. And so
Yeah.
yeah, that is true. Maybe that's a theme that and because we don't really know how he became a werewolf. And maybe he doesn't know. I think that they even say that in the movie, like the sisters, like he probably doesn't know how he became this werewolf.
Yeah, and you'd think it makes me wonder now, is he actually evil? Because like if I knew I was a werewolf, I'd be like, all right, I gotta move to like Alaska. I gotta like live in like a tent or something. Cause like, but he's like, nah, I mean, Maine is pretty a small town, but he's still a priest who has to interact with people on a day-to-day basis. So it's like, if you can't control yourself, man, this might not be the right job for you. I don't know. But yeah, he's a great character though. The werewolf is a little goofy at times, but they do it in an effective way, similar to American Werewolf in London, where the attacks are like very fast and then you just see like a chunk of flesh sort of thing, and it cuts really quick. And that I think was really what made it a little bit more believable. And I watched the YouTube one that you watched as well, which I believe is the TV edit. I'd like to see it without the commercial breaks because I'm kind of curious, but I did look up this director, and this was his only film.
Yep.
Everything else he's done before and after this was all TV, and it felt TV movie even though it was released in theaters. But I don't know why. I'm just thinking it was because of the commercial breaks. Like it still looked good. Like it didn't look like a TV movie necessarily, but I don't know. Stephen King TV movies from the 80s and 90s were solid. So like I always assumed. Salem's Lot was in theaters. I never knew that that was a TV movie.
Yeah, because that would kind of predated me even as well. And so that one, and I think that this is the fourth Stephen King film adaptation. I think we'd already had Carrie, The Shining, and Christine leading up to this. I think that was the three
And
before this.
Salem's Lot.
Salem's Lot, of course, 79. So yep, so fifth.
And actually, I think Firestarter was
Oh,
84.
oh,
I think.
you're
Um,
right.
yeah, I want to say 84 had a few. I think Cat Eye might have been 83 or 4. I don't know. There's so many. It's
Maybe even
like,
the Dead Zone. It may have been
yeah, Dead Zone was
several to
83.
it. So, but it was becoming a bankable type of film, I would think, at this time when you have Stephen King attached to it. And this was kind of a different approach with this book that's kind of a very different written work for Stephen King. And it didn't follow a lot of his formulas. It wasn't convoluted. It wasn't complicated. It was very straightforward. It's a werewolf killing people by the cycle of the moon once a month for a year in the book, and then in the movie we get it for 5 or 6 months. It starts in the spring, and I just love that small town vibe at the beginning
Yeah.
when they're like that the fair, and it's just like it feels like I grew up in a small town in Missouri. It just feels like that, where like the small town in the Sandlot when they're just having like a Fourth of July parade.
Hmm.
I like that. There's something about that setting that really resonates. I always like that. There's a movie called ICU that did that a few years ago really effectively. I'm not sure if you guys have done an episode on that. Very good movie with Helen Hunt. But what about you? Are you does settings matter? Are you a big settings guy when it comes to horror? I think it's like everything to me.
Oh yeah, no, big time. And Stephen King movies, they're like a warm blanket when you watch them. I mean, even though there's horrible things happening, it's such like yeah, all the small town. I grew up in something very similar, in Connecticut, small town. So when I see it, like we have something very similar to this like waterfall that's like was like a steel mill thing. It looks just like Derry. And so I love these kind of settings. So yeah, no, very much so. I love small towns. Stephen King, any of his tropes, I'm always into. The bullies, the settings, I always like how they take place in the past. They seem like, at least to me. And it was funny because this one takes place in 1976, but it was shot in 1985, and I couldn't figure out why. Like, why not just have it take place in 1985? It didn't really feel particularly 70s to me. It just kind of felt like older.
That's true. I never really thought about that. I kind of assumed that it just did take place in present day. But yeah, that's right. It does. It
Yeah.
sort of follows the book timeline as when it came out, which is not always what Stephen King's adaptations have been. They've
Yeah. I I don't know. I was just trying to think. I was like, why not just have it take place in 1985? Like, I don't know, but it was like 9 years earlier. There was a horrible thing that happened in my town. And it made me also what you said about it being just really straightforward too. That was the thing. I was almost surprised how straightforward it was. I was like, okay, there's no way it's gonna be the priest. That'd be too obvious. Like, and my girlfriend's sitting there, she's like, I bet it's gonna be the uncle. I bet it's gonna be Uncle Red. And I was
Mm.
like, I feel like that's too obvious. But then once you find out he's got the eye patch, like boom, he's the werewolf. You're like, oh, okay. And there's no twist. He is the werewolf. And then even at the end, my girlfriend's like, I still think he's gonna twist. And you see him take that the bullet out at the end, and he looks at it, and she's like, this is the moment where she's gonna be like, and now I'm gonna feed you to my friend or something like that. And I was like, oh, is that gonna happen? And then it didn't. But I know it was very straightforward though. There's a werewolf in the town. Kids know about it, and they got to stop it. So I liked it.
Yeah, no, I've always really it's in it, partly a lot of things nostalgia is a
Oh shoot, you there? Oh no, Clint, you there? All right, we had a little bit of technical difficulty, but we're back. So we were talking about who we thought was going to be the killer and how straightforward the Stephen King for a Stephen King film, how straightforward this actual plot was. So I kind of like appreciate it in a weird way. Like usually there's like, oh, there's some mysterious ghost and it's causing something, or they find out, oh, it was a Native American burial ground. But this is like, nope, werewolves here, no reason why. He's just killing people. Deal with it, and the town has to deal with it in different ways. Which I like that too. So many great scenes of just like genuine human like dialogue. Specifically like with Gary Busey and his sister, like that scene where they're fighting about like you're teaching him how to like give up, like that whole scene, loved it. And the scenes in the bar where they're like, I'm sick of you running your mouth, and they just like come over there and have this like really intense conversation. So I was like, it's great writing, great acting, believable. Like my son was murdered, you tell me about justice, like all this stuff. It was great. It was really good.
right. There is a lot of that. I think the townspeople. I like the vigilantes. Kind of reminds me of Halloween 4 when they go after the mob goes after Michael Myers, and these people are going, and then the wolf is just like picking them off one by one in this really cool scene where there's fog setting in over the woods, and the wolf's just pulling them under. That scene always scared me as a kid. Like what? It just the fear of the unknown and the way it was shot, which is crazy because this was actually filmed in Wilmington, North Carolina, and not in Maine, which is kind of typical. But Wilmington stands in for a lot of places. If you've ever been there, it's The Crow was filmed there, and Dawson's Creek, and
Yeah.
like so much is filmed in Wilmington.
I think I know what you did last summer might have been filmed around there too.
Southport, yeah,
East
yep,
Southport,
right down
yeah.
more, yep,
Yeah, because that was the other thing I was saying. I was like, there's no way this takes place in Maine. Like everybody has a Southern accent. And then I looked it
yeah.
up and I was like, what? I was like, okay. Like, I mean, that's fine. But I was like, they clearly just got a bunch of extras that, yes, we're from the South. Um, but yeah, the townspeople, like they all hate their well, they don't all hate their sheriff or whatever, but the vigilante thing makes sense, just like in Halloween 4, where it's like this is a small town with very limited resources, and they're like so many people have been killed, kids are
Yeah.
being killed, like old people are being killed. So it's gotten to the point where it's like I think we all need to like band together to do something. Like just like you would do if Michael Myers was just picking people off to be like, we got guns, like let's go do something about it.
Did you
Um,
have a favorite kill? I really always kind of liked the kind of the redneck dad that's watching wrestling,
Yeah.
which is funny because I like old school wrestling. So I'm
Yeah.
like, oh yeah, I think that's the NWA from 1985.
Yeah.
So that dad, and he like stumbles out to his shed and he's, raw. And I think that guy was in All the Right Moves with Tom Cruise. And he
Yeah.
just gets like, you see stuff shaking. You don't really see the wolf, but then it comes up from under the ground and he like falls onto like a splintered piece of wood and just impales him. That was a great part.
Yeah.
There's some good kills. He mostly just mauls people though, like knocks their head off.
The
He just
head off. That was great. That was so great. I'm just like, it's like, I mean, it's very surprising. Like it just flies off. It's like Friday 13th Part 8 when he punches the guy's head right off. I love that. But you were saying earlier the fog scene. I think that might be the scariest scene. Even though you don't see much, it's just the idea of it. Like they're in like a swamp basically. They can't see
yeah,
above their waist and they're just getting pulled down one by one and just shredded apart. Like that was pretty intense. And then, there's not a lot of movies. I mean, there's a few, but there's not a lot that have somebody in a wheelchair. And the idea of being in a wheelchair and there being something coming after you is so scary because you can't, even if you're running, like you're probably still gonna get killed, but like you still feel like you have a chance. Where this movie and Curse of Chucky, the sixth one, where the protagonist is in a wheelchair as well, and like it always made me think like, oh, I just kicked Chucky in the head. It's like, what if I was in a wheelchair? Like Chucky he could really get me. And this movie made me feel like that too. Corey Haim's character is in a wheelchair. And another thing I never knew, the movie was called Silver Bullet. It's a dual meaning for the bullet that they make, and then also his wheelchair, which is this cool ass motorized cart basically. And it also reminded me so much for a moment of Rick and Morty. It's like the
yeah.
character's name is Marty. He's got a drunk uncle who like makes inventions for him. And I was like, this is kind of, and it came out in 1985, and I know Rick and Morty's heavily based on Back to the Future. So I'm like, I bet the creators were watching this movie and Back to the Future when they came up with the idea.
And you just love that relationship between Gary Busey and Corey Haim. And I've always had a soft spot for Corey Haim. I love the Coreys. Obviously love Lost Boys, but License to Drive, even Dream a Little Dream, some of the movies that they did together. And what a sad ending for Corey Haim. And he was so likable in this movie. And I thought did a great, and like the resolve that he had to, take on the, especially the scene in the park where he shoots the bottle rocket at the werewolf's eye. And that's kind of how they lead to finding out who the werewolf is because the guy has an eye patch. I thought little details like that were really, really cool. And again, Corey Haim just, I think he had done maybe one movie before that, or Lucas maybe, or a football movie or something.
Hmm.
And but that always loved that Silver Bullet was just, who didn't want that as
I
a kid?
know. It was so cool. It made you want it. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
It was like a segue before segues almost. And yeah, back to what you're saying about Gary Busey's relationship with him. I loved it because the dad was such like a numb character. Like he was just
Yes.
kind of like, listen to your mother, and like just didn't talk much. And then you've got this uncle who, yeah, he is an alcoholic. He's probably not a great role model in certain ways, but he's a fun person.
Hmm.
And he even says the line, he's just like, I see Marty for more than being in a wheelchair. Like he's got more to him than that. And all you see is he needs to take a bath. He needs to get out of his bed. Like, and he needs somebody like that in his life. Even, and Gary Busey's character Red should want more for himself so he can be there for Marty in other ways.
True.
But I still like I like Marty and Red's relationship a lot. I liked Gary Busey in this so much, and watching it, I don't know about Gary Busey's personal life, but he looked like an alcoholic. Like he
He,
did not look healthy. His stomach was like hard and big, and like everything else looked just like a little haggard. And I was like, is he method for this movie? Because he was drinking whiskey like it
I
was beer. I mean, I was
think
like,
that's Gary Busey in general. That's what you expect. And if you notice, he reuses a line from this movie and later on in Point Break, where he says, "You look like a virgin on prom night," and he uses that again in Point Break because he's with Keanu Reeves and he's like a young FBI agent, and he says that to him too. And I just like, who would have thought you would have
you're
had a
right.
line reused for that? But tremendous, I think. And it's the movie didn't do for 1985. I think it made. I think only like $5 or $6 million in the US. I think it did well globally, which is weird. I don't really keep up with like global scales as far as that, but I think it did decently globally, but domestically it didn't do great, which is probably why we didn't see any other a sequel, or it never got revisited. I think it could be something that could get revisited today. Do you feel like this is a movie you'd like to see like a refresher of? If it did happen today, I think it would be Uncle Red as the wolf. They probably would have to throw that in there.
Yeah, just something to twist it up. I mean, that's the thing. I don't really like remakes very much. Like I'd
Same.
rather see an original take on something. Or you can do something that's like, oh, this is inspired by this, sort of thing.
Yeah,
It's like
yeah.
clearly a nod to. But when they take the title, it's like all I'm gonna be doing is think about how does this compare to the original one. And but that being said, this is kind of a perfect example of a movie that just didn't. I don't know if it just came out at the wrong time or just there wasn't enough interest in werewolf movies at that specific time. I don't know what it was that made this
Yeah.
one not succeed. But the idea is there. So like maybe try it again. I mean they do it for successful ones, they do it for everything, and they even do it for unsuccessful ones like Children of the Corn. I mean seriously, how many people are actually watching the new ones? Like I don't know.
Oh my
Uh,
God.
but you're right though. The finances for this, the budget was 7 million. It made 5.4 in North America, and then totally it made 12.4 in total. So definitely not a success, but it doesn't seem like like just catastrophic either. But yeah, because he did Maximum Overdrive in '83 as well, and I don't think that did very well either. So yeah, it might have been. I think this is like peak Stephen King '80s. Is like right around this time where they're just like flooding them out. And some were doing well. Some, I mean, Shining didn't do that great either,
True.
but it's such a huge movie now. But yeah, I could definitely see them remaking this now. Now seeing it, I'd watch it, but the thing is, it's so 80s. Like the music, it was like perfect. The motorcycle thing, like I don't know if it would work unless it took place in the 80s again. But yeah, I don't know. I loved the music, loved the just the way it looked, the carelessness. Like his parents seemed like they were good parents to a degree, like responsible parents. Their kids riding a motorcycle 80 miles an hour down the street
Yeah.
with no helmet on. I'm like, where are the parents here? This is nuts.
And we haven't really talked about it. The sister, who's kind of the heartbeat of the film, she's the
Yeah.
narrator. She's narrating the story and kind of their relationship. Her always calling him a booger.
Yeah.
She and I think that he realizes that his disposition is causing her to have a different kind of life than she would have had, because the parents are kind of having to cater to Marty and kind of having to help him through life. And she's sort of a forgotten child a
Mm,
little bit in a way because of what they have to do for Marty, but yet she still loves him. The way they band together, like I'm all about, like in the Monster Squad, we know the scene where they, the rock until you drop scene where they go get their weapons ready. And in this one, you have them going to that old school, like the blacksmith who makes the bullet.
yep.
And it's like Uncle Red has to believe that this could possibly be true, that there's a werewolf out there, and that on the next full moon, if they have this silver bullet, that maybe they can uh shoot the wolf. Of course, it so happens that the parents go out of town. Uncle Red's babysitting. We're just having a Halloween party, and the wolf just stops by to attack Marty. But it makes sense because he tried to kill Marty when he was human on the bridge, which was a terrifying scene to me. Like he just says, Marty, you're going to have an accident.
Yeah, dude, that scene, because and that leads back to like the being in the wheelchair thing. Like he goes on this bridge and he's shooting off these fireworks that his Uncle Red gave to him, and the werewolf attacks. And he shoots the last firework. It goes right into the werewolf's eye, and he's like trapped on the bridge. He like can't
Yeah.
turn around in a way that's like possible for him to escape. And I thought there was a great tension there. And luckily, the werewolf gets hit in the eye, so it freaks out and it leaves. But yeah, he almost dies there, and then Everett McGill, he's like hunting him down as a priest, not even as the werewolf anymore. He's got the eye patch. He looks like oh my God, the guy from Firestarter. I can't remember his name now. The actor. Oh my God, George C. Scott. He
Oh
looks
yeah,
like him because he's got the eye patch. And that's the thing. I wish I could see that scene just taken out of context, like no context, just this kid in a wheelchair getting like chased down by a one-eyed priest, just like in a car. Like you're like, what is this movie? Like I mean, knowing what it is, obviously. And the other thing you just mentioned too, which, I've never seen this movie before, but it immediately reminded me of Kill Bill. Have you seen Kill Bill?
yeah. Oh yeah. Oh, I love, huge fan.
Yeah, great movie. Love it as well. And the scene where they're making the silver bullet, they're making it out of crucifixes and stuff like that, which I thought was a great idea. I'm like, I've never hear of like them taking like ooh, it's even got like Christianity in the bullet,
Right.
like it'll take it out even more. But in the scene, even the music and the way they were making the bullet reminded me so much of when Hattori Hanzo was making the blade to Kill Bill for the bride in Kill Bill. And they even say, like, I think this is the finest bullet I've ever made, sort of thing. And it's like literally like taken from this movie into
That's
Kill Bill.
crazy. That's
Yeah.
that's true because Hattori Hanzo says this is the greatest sword ever created by human hand or something like that. That's very poetic and like, and the guy that makes the bullet even says something like how because they weren't really letting on to what they were going to do with this bullet. I think Uncle Red says something like, "Yeah, you never know what you might need to do with this," and the guy said, "Yeah, like maybe kill a werewolf."
Right.
Guy was like almost like he knew what was going on or he was in on like this, and they called him an old world craftsman,
Yep.
and something about that just like really always always really like that, and just leading to the finale. I mean, as an ending, where do you rate the ending? I mean, they obviously the wolf comes, there's a struggle. Of course, he throws Uncle Red around, and then Corey Haim shoots him with the silver bullet. He dies, and he goes back to human form. There's a pretty decently makeup effects were
Mm.
decent, I think, when he kind of went back. Uh, I mean, it wasn't like some fantastic over the top, but I mean, I think it just served its purpose. And the cycle of the werewolf ended. Kind of said what we've been saying. It's a straightforward movie and it's a straightforward ending, right?
Dude, exactly. Like that's exactly how I felt. I was like, this is exactly how it should end, and everything's kind of wrapped up, and it was perfect. I mean, there's a little bit of tension. They drop the bullet, they have to get it, and exactly, Uncle Red's just like an alcoholic fighting the werewolf, and I love that. And then they just grab the gun, and boom, the kid saves the day. He gets some, courage, and he's like, I did it. I was right, and I was vindicated, and I saved my family. So yeah, dude, it's like a perfect ending. I almost want more,
Yeah.
And the other thing is, I don't know if I missed this or if I just thought it would be so hilarious if this is actually the truth. So he lies to his sister, like Gary Busey lies to his sister and his brother-in-law, and he's like, I got you like a free stay at this Plaza Hotel. And they're like, oh, nice. Like, are they gonna go down there and there's just no reservation? Like, what the fuck? And
I
then they're
thought
gonna
that
just turn around and drive back because there's no cell phone, so they can't like double check on the internet. So they're just like, well, he said he got it for us. And or do you think he actually booked them a room or whatever? Because he makes it seem like I just had to get rid of them for a little while.
yeah, it's weird because the daughter, his Corey Haim's sister says something like, "Oh, a chance encounter or chance happen occurrence led us to have the house to ourselves with Uncle Red." But then it's like, "Oh yeah, then he had caused this publishing clearinghouse trip or something." And I'm like, well, wait, which is it? Like, is this a happenstance or is this he actually orchestrated this whole thing and it's going to work out? Or are they just going to come right back home? Right. And this is what's great about the 80s though, Alec, is the 80s is all about the kids have no help. They do have Uncle Red here, but usually it's adults are oblivious. They are just not real people. They get out of the way and let the kids handle it. They're the only ones that know what's going on. That's why I think Stranger Things later kind of became successful. It's like these kids are the only ones that can do it. They're the ones that are battling this thing. And it's kind of like that. The naivete, I think, helps. The kids have to be the ones that to tackle the monster in the 80s for sure. It was, and that's why the Monster Squad forever lives on too. And I think there's a similar vibe to that here, and it's only a year before the Monster Squad, and I feel like it was the last werewolf we saw until we saw the wolf from the Monster Squad. So maybe he just kind of careened over to that movie. So
Yeah, and that's such a classic Stephen King trope too, of just like the adults are either like assholes or oblivious to what's going on, and this definitely carries on. And it doesn't remind me very much, like the plots aren't very that similar, but I just covered maybe like 2 weeks ago. Sometimes They Come Back, which is another Stephen King adaptation that was also produced by Dino De Laurentiis, and that came out in 91, so that was a little bit later in the Stephen King adaptations, but just like the small town, a lot of the tropes, and I don't know when this. Oh, the book was written in 83, Silver Bullet, and the tropes from Sometimes They Come Back, that was I think written in like 74. But still the small town, I guess there's not really bullies in this. Yeah, actually there's not that many
or
similarities.
there's some.
Yeah.
So, it's weird because sometimes they come back. It was filmed 10 minutes from where I live, right here in Liberty, Missouri,
Oh, that's right.
Town
That's
Square,
right.
which is
I
where
forgot.
I'm there all the time. Yeah, and it's the middle school there that I've actually taught summer school at, and it's the high school in the film. So yeah, that's the big claim to fame there.
That's you,
Not my
that you're
favorite
like
Stephen King movie though, but
right. It was decent, but you're like the lead actor. He's a
but I feel like
teacher.
you guys and where you're from in Connecticut and like the East Coast, New Jersey, Connecticut, all you guys have all the great. You guys have tons of great movies from up by there. Friday the 13th Part 2. You
Yep.
got Blairstown, New Jersey, which is the Friday the 13th one. And I don't know if you've ever seen a movie called The House of the Devil. I think that's filmed
Oh
right up
yeah, that's filmed in Torrington. Yeah, and that's right next to Dudleytown, which is like a real haunted area in Connecticut. If you ever want to hear some really spooky stuff about a
there.
Connecticut,
Cool.
Dudleytown, Connecticut. Yeah, Torrington's where they filmed House of the Devil. Have you ever seen Let's Scare Jessica to Death? You ever seen that movie?
Yeah.
That
Yep.
was filmed in
That was a
Connecticut. Oh, a little bit of Last House on the Left was filmed in Connecticut. There's been a bunch of stuff.
we here in Missouri, we don't get a lot of it. You know, we're in the Midwest, but Missouri does have like all the things you would need. It's got like they couldn't even film Ozark here. They filmed that in Georgia, you know. So
Mm.
we got the lakes, we got mountains, we got, fields, we've got kind of any aesthetic you would need, charming small towns, but I don't know if it's tax breaks or whatever. But yeah, Wilmington, where Silver Bullet is, that has a lot of things. And I actually was just at that park where Marty shot the bottle rocket. I went, they tore that bridge down, like just tore that bridge down,
It
just did it.
sucks.
I saw a YouTube video on it where this guy was there and I was like, oh, the bridge is gone where Marty did that. But I like to visit those kind of places and really just, I like to feel immersed in these movies that you grow up watching, especially when you're from the Midwest and like, everything's either kind of West Coast or East Coast. You don't have a lot that's like your own here. It's cool to go
Yeah.
to see some of these places and to see that they are real and like that you grew up, watching these movies. And I'm very nostalgic for them. And Silver Bullet's a big one for that, for sure.
No, that's awesome. Yeah, if you ever get a chance, have you been to Los Angeles?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Oh yeah, there's so many. I mean, like Michael
Oh
Myers'
yeah.
house, like you just
Pasadena.
Pasadena. Yeah, there's so many great spots out here. But yeah, no, this was a great one. I'd be curious to see if they do remake it. I mean, it seems like Stephen King's having another moment right now, and I think they did like 5 adaptations last year. I'm trying to, it's just never
Yeah.
ending. Um,
I'm trying
so
to think how they could do it. Like we talked, you kind of mentioned it earlier, but like what exactly would it look like? Could it be brought into modern times? Would they have to it's really interesting and I hadn't really thought about like what would I do with this story because it's so straightforward and there's not a lot of nuance to it. So
yeah.
do you kind of just retell it? Do you kind of is there anything that you change? Do you just make the werewolf maybe is that a CGI now
Don't do CGI.
situation?
Don't do
I
CGI.
agree.
Yeah, maybe like do it different. So maybe try and do it like how the director anticipated or like wanted initially, doing it more like Jaws, where you see it a little bit less. Really lean into the mystery of who the werewolf is. Like, maybe do like a scapegoat where somebody else loses their eye and they didn't know and they think it's
Mm,
that person. I would say probably, because it and Stranger Things and all this stuff so popular, like make there be a better group of kids. Maybe Brady has more of a developed story, and that other girl who was scared, her family was scared of the house that was hearing the monster, like maybe she's more developed and they get more time with the kids. The only character that I feel like would be tough to like nail again would be Red. There's just something about like 80s and 90s alcoholics that like I just believe more. Like I don't know. I'm trying to think like
agree.
who would they get now? Like Mickey Rourke? He's still alive, right? Would they like somebody like that, you know? They got to get somebody who's like
Still alive.
really
I don't
lived a life.
You're right. It'd have to be somebody very like over the top and someone that because it's just you're right. There is something about that, and I don't know. I like the idea of the developing of the another group of kids because they didn't really. You had the friend, but he died so early.
Yeah.
He's,
Yeah.
I remember that part scared me because you didn't have a lot. I was like 3 and 4 years old watching this movie. I'm like, there's a kid that just gets slaughtered flying a kite. Like, what could happen to me?
Right. Yeah, they probably wouldn't do that very much in especially like a movie like this nowadays. I figured it out. Gary Busey plays Red in the remake too.
Why not? He's talking about sausage. He's lost his mind these days, but why
Yeah.
not throw him in there?
He's still alive. And that was something I even said to my girlfriend. I was like, I cannot, I bet when they were on set, there's no way in hell Gary Busey's like, I'm gonna outlive that kid. Like, like
Oh,
because he's working with Corey Haim. Corey Haim's like 10 or 11 maybe, and
Yeah,
he's a cute little kid, and then like you see them together, and Corey, it looks like Gary Busey's already not doing well at that point, and this is 40 years ago, or 41 years ago, this movie now.
so
Um,
true.
so it's just like it's so sad to think, yeah, Corey Haim literally, he was outlived by Gary Busey, which is like insane to think.
I know
Um,
we're going long here, and I know you're
no, it's
probably,
okay.
but there's a lot of characters in this that you see in a lot of movies. You got the guy that's like the gas station attendant.
I
There's
loved
him.
him.
He is in like a ton of stuff around this time. Always just like a character guy. Some of the townspeople, like I said, there was the guy from All the Right Moves that
Hmm
was kind of an adversary of Tom Cruise in that movie. And it's just I like the church being kind of the central setting because like the Reverend's trying to like be the soul of this town and keep people from kind of trying to keep them on the straight and narrow and preach about how this is God's will or we're going to figure this out, and yet he's the one doing the slaying. So
Yeah.
that's
Develop that more, you
too.
know?
Yeah, develop that more for sure.
Yeah. Like where he even said, because he's like, I can't take my life because suicide's a sin. And then he kills the woman who is about to commit suicide to save her from going to hell from suicide. So it's like there's something more to this character that we didn't get in this movie.
You're
Like
right.
he's a good guy that's struggling, but we don't get enough of that. That one dream where he wakes up and he's like, "Oh, I saw them as werewolves, but it was really me." It's like that's not enough for us to see that internal conflict. But
Yeah,
yeah, it is interesting. I'd be okay with that. I'd be okay with there being a remake where they get a little more into the nitty-gritty. And I'm sure it would be cast well today, to be able to figure that out. With the kid acting is so insane nowadays, so I'm sure they could find some good kid actors.
you're
Um,
right.
but yeah, I'm trying to think of anything else. Music was incredible. I like the way it was shot just because, yeah, I like 80s music movies. I like the pacing. I like the longer takes, the wider takes. I know. I'm trying to think if there's anything else. Oh, Lawrence Tierney. I love that he was in it too. You know him from Reservoir Dogs. I mean, he's been in a million movies, but
Yes.
yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, and he's kind of like tame in this movie. I thought he was gonna be like, ah, give me the gun, I'll kill the wolf, or like whatever. But he was kind of little tame. But yeah, I loved seeing him in it. Oh, and I'm just like a huge Twin Peaks fan. So when I see Everett McGill in anything, I'm like, let's go. He's Big Ed from
Ah,
Twin Peaks, also in People Under the Stairs for a Wes Craven movie.
he was pretty crazy in that movie too, and
Yeah.
that's one I like for sure as well. And yeah, it was. I think the cast was right. I think I just think that, like you called it a hidden gem at the beginning. That's
Mm.
exactly what I would say that this is. It's a standalone. It exists in this one realm in 1985 in this one film, never to be brought up again or really talked about other than just. And I think you might even be able to call it a bit of a cult classic at this point because
Definitely.
it was one that just. I mean, like I said, my best friend and I, we had free reign of the horror section at Aardvark Video in Clinton, Missouri. So we just watched them all. We went through all of them. Our parents would, try to stop us. They gave up eventually. And so we just ran through every horror movie known to man and kind of made me who I am today. I'm so proud of that.
Well, Clint, I have had such a fun time talking with you about this, and
And
definitely want to have you back on. I want you to come on with Joe. I mean, Joe would love to talk with you about horror movies. He knows everything.
yeah, Joe's awesome. I've heard a lot of episodes with Joe. He is like right in the weeds on all this stuff. He's kind of the same age as me, so we probably have a lot of similar stories and things. So yeah, we definitely should do that. And it'd be an honor, man, because you're a cool dude.
Oh,
Eric's great when he does it. Joe's awesome. The other guest you've had on, Dom, I think's one, and
oh yeah.
uh, all your episodes have been so cool. And it's been like help make some of my road trips just fly by lately. And I'm like excited to delve into some more horror this summer when I have more time to do that. So appreciate it.
I appreciate you, Clint. Thank you very much for saying all of that. And do you want to just plug your podcast or Starcade or anything one more time before we wrap up?
Oh yeah, I just if you like sports, I do. I have a sports media company called Starcade Media where we do a lot of events, travel, interviews, podcasts, kind of everything. And my rock podcast. If you like bands like Rat, Dokken, Wingers, Faster Pussycat, L.A. Guns, Twisted Sister, you might like this podcast. I do interview a lot of people from those kind of bands. So I guess I might have been born in the wrong time period, Alec. I probably should have born in like 1970 and been like graduating high school in the late 80s. But as it were, I'm 42 and just sort of like stuck in the year I was born, basically in 1984. So don't hold that against me, I guess.
I get it, man. I feel the same way. I feel the same way. Well, thank you, Clint, again, and thank you all so much for listening in to our discussion on Silver Bullet today. I am not 100% on what's coming out next week, but stay tuned. It's going to be something awesome. All right, everybody, thank you very much, and have a great rest of your week. Bye-bye.